everybody, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday, and welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily.
This is Fish.
And honestly, the last few episodes had mentioned, gosh, we need a new intro. And honestly, people have said to us, like, don't change it, don't change anything. And, you know, we've just been on so many cool adventures and done so many cool things. You know, it's just kind of fun to reflect that in there. But I have to be super honest with you. Josh created that, and I had not even seen it yet, so I didn't even know that we were rolling with a new intro today. So, if that was new to you, then that was new to me.
Yeah, let us know how you like it.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. Like Josh said, welcome to the show. So I'm sorry to be so thrown off in the beginning.
Hey, Jay.
But you know, that was pretty fun. And I guess otherwise, we typically start with a fishing report. So I guess where do we start?
Oh man, I mean, we were all over the Northeast this weekend. We ran up to the Menominee River and fished that a little bit. Stuck a few walleyes with some blade baits. Caught a nice fat carp. Some rock bass. A couple different things on the river there.
I'm going to be super honest, though. Josh was being nice when he said, like, generically caught these fish and started listing, because it's one of those days where Josh had a fabulous day, and I put a lot of effort into not a lot of fish. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't want to say I struggled, but like a little bit. And one of the reasons is Josh went out. He has all of his new blade baits, a lot of things that we've been talking about and working on. And honestly, he crushed fish on that, and a lot of different species in the river. But I, was really partial to some of the old favorites, and I just started going through my box and jigs and plastics and shapes and profiles and all of these different things. And I was jigging in all different paces and cadences and doing all the things that Josh was otherwise doing. And I just should have switched to a blade bait early in the day, because when you find what works, sometimes you just roll with what works.
Yep, and that's what I did. Except the one time I switched, I caught a carp, so I went right back to the blade bait.
Well, and it's funny because he was catching fish. I was insistent on finding, what else would work. If it was that size minnow, if it was that color, if it was, I was certain that I could replicate all those things in plastics. And the only thing I didn't have is live bait, because we just honestly don't often bring live bait. Josh, gently. I mean, that's the thing that happens.
The laugh faces are warranted.
Well, and the other thing is that,
hey, Ray,
I guess not to switch gears, but then Sunday rolled around and I did pretty okay.
Yeah, we totally switched it up. Went back to lake. We were over at Rolling Stone. Fished around that whole lake. It was our first time on it, and it was awesome. And honestly, it's like, we heard so much about it all ice season. Hey, have you gone to Rolling Stone? Have you gone to Rolling Stone? And like, it throws you off because it's 600 acres of fishing. It's
tough.
Like, it's hard. It's very hard to fish because there's so much places to fish. So, we did our best and caught a few nice fish. Emily definitely outfished me on Sunday, so that was fun.
The nice thing about that, though, is where we are located, we are still, at least this past Sunday, fishing pre-spawn fish. They're staging, they're out a little bit. Those water temps were not quite there. So, a lot of times it's fun, to go and watch those fish in the shallows, but it's also important they're there for a reason. They're reproducing and literally trying to give you more fish for your future. So, let them do that. And a lot of people make the choice to go out, and, that's a thing too. And I'm not here to say what's right and what's wrong, but we do want to be mindful of having fish for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we threw ours back. We haven't really decided where we're going this weekend yet, but I'm sure it'll be some more, searching around looking for our next favorite body of water, I think. So, I don't know.
Yep. And with that, I guess let's bring in our guest, because I'm super excited to talk to him. And I guess I didn't even realize how much time has flown by already. So Adam, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
What's up? Thanks for having me. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now? Because
yeah.
All right. Because my earbuds, somebody tried to call me or whatever, and then it completely disconnected. So yeah, we're just going to roll with it.
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
So for the people at home, it's funny because we always meet before the show and just make sure that everything's working and all of that. And right away we heard Adam come through, and I was like, "Dang, that was clear!" And that's what we said right away. Like, what a good connection. So it is still pretty good. And as always, if anyone has any troubles, let us know. But otherwise, feel free to participate in our comments section because we would love to talk about those things. But Adam, I think a lot of people here know you. But in case there's anybody who doesn't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Adam Kittleson.
Question of the day. I'm sorry, that's so generic.
No, it works. It works. My name's Adam Kittleson. I've known you guys. I've known a lot of you guys for many years, but part of Ice Junkies Outdoors, and I'm just your average person that has a normal job and whatnot, and loves the outdoors. So it's hunting, fishing, camping, foraging, pretty much everything. And then and raising my kids outdoors.
I love your modesty because just your average guy. I camp and hunt and fish.
That's about it.
Morels and this and that and kids outdoor. Like, I feel like you do so many cool things. All around great guy.
Well, thank you. I try to do a little bit of everything. Actually, on my way home today, I stopped and raided the ditch line, for asparagus, because right now it's prime time for asparagus. So it was delicious stuff.
Actually, I love all of these additional adventures that you do. So we will get to some fish talk, but
Sure.
up by us, I don't even know if asparagus grows as north as we are. Maybe we'll find that out. It probably does, I guess.
I'm sure it does. You just got to get out there and look.
Well, and that's the thing. I grew up far enough south that I didn't know that was a thing. So for people who are new to asparagus hunting, I guess is what I call it. Like, what do you look for? How do you find it? What do you mean you just left work and found asparagus?
I drive down the backcountry roads on my way home, and really what I do is I start there's no wrong time to look for asparagus, but you're either going to find good stuff that you can actually take home, or you're going to find spots where where it's going to be for next year. So driving down the back roads, and you're looking for, right now the asparagus that hasn't been touched is getting bigger, and it's starting to fruit, and it's starting to open up to where it goes to seed. And then basically you can look for a tall, wiry green bush, per se, that's growing up, and then that there's going to be an asparagus patch there for next year. Yeah. But if you get out right now, some of them are sprouted up super tall. Those are the ones that are, reaching sky high for sun. But if you get down there and you push the grass aside, you're going to find some small stuff. And the small, fat stalks, those are the best. They're extremely tender.
And like I was saying, for people out there who have never done this before, like literally the way that asparagus grows, you might not expect it if you've not seen it. It looks like what you buy in the store, like put it on the ground, like literally that's what it looks like. That's what you're looking for. There's no mistaking it. That's what it is. But when you can find a little patch of it, watch as it grows up, or even look it up online beforehand, because like Adam, like what you're saying, you really can watch those patches, those bushes grow up, and they are easy to spot in fall.
Yep. In the fall, when they start to brown and they start to die, I mean, they're basically the last stuff standing in the fall there. So you can look around as you're driving down the backcountry roads, and look along fence line, look along farmers' fields. Obviously, don't go up in somebody's field, but there is a right of way within the ditch area that you can legally go on. I would never walk up into somebody's personal area by any means, but walking along some of these out in the middle of nowhere ditches, you're going to find a ton of asparagus. I literally walked about 20 feet, and I had my whole front seat covered in asparagus tonight. So I had this big giant pile of it, and we still have a ton left. Ate a bunch of it tonight, and they're going to enjoy the rest tomorrow.
That is super awesome. And then the one thing that I actually have not done very much of anyways, that I'm looking forward to is, I guess to my knowledge, the next season coming up is morels. Would that be true?
It's already going on right now. You're missing out.
Oh, no. I'm more north.
Get out there this weekend.
Me.
Yes, morel season is amazing. It was funny. One of my Facebook posts from a few years ago popped up. My best season I ever had. We walked out. I took my oldest kid out in the woods, and we walked out to one tree, literally about an 8-minute walk from the car, and there were 76 morels under one tree. There was it was 4.5 pounds within the 76 morels that we found. So it was pretty incredible. Now this year I haven't been out in the woods much, and I found 0.
I mean, I guess season is stupid, but you can't find them if you're not out there. You can't catch fish if you're not out there. So.
Exactly. I mean, you can get lucky, and you can be driving down the road as long as you know what you're looking for in the ditch line. If you have somebody else driving for you, it's probably best to have somebody else driving for you, and then you can look in the ditch line. But there is plenty of roadside morels that you can pick as well. I just haven't found any of that because I don't have anybody driving for me. So,
well, it's hard to be the first person there.
What's that?
It's hard to be the first person there.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as somebody finds a particular spot, especially any sort of public land, as soon as somebody finds a particular spot, they're going to be there nonstop. And they're going to constantly go to that spot, and they're going to watch it, and they're going to make sure nobody else is going there to, steal their bounty. So that's one of the tough things about anything public, right? I mean, hunting or foraging or whatever it may be, fishing. You find those honey holes, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, everybody's there. If you're not there first, in the great words of Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Yeah.
Well, and especially when it comes to morels, you miss them, you miss them. Like the asparagus, if it grows up and you miss that, at least you see it and you know where to go back to. But the morels, it's like there's no trace. It's gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, deer love morels, so they'll get in there and eat them. If you get a random heat and dry spell, all of a sudden your patch of morels that you were trying to watch grow, they're gone, so. And then there's plenty of other wildlife, and not to mention the bugs and insects and whatnot that get to the morels, so they start eating them right away. I mean, they're delicious, so why not? But yeah, you definitely have to be there right away, and you never know if you're going to find them. You have to cover the distance in order to find them.
Yeah, and look. We have Corey checking in tonight saying that he can find crappies better than rotten rubber bands. So we're talking about morel mushrooms, and I'm maybe
oh, come on, Corey. Man. You know what goes good with morels? Crappies.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, are crappies easier to find than morels?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm laughing too. I guess I'm surprised to hear you say that, but I guess I've caught a lot of crappies and not ever found morels, so I guess I have to agree with you. I don't know.
It wasn't until about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, was when I found my first morel. So they were the elusive mushroom in the woods, but I guess I never really took a true shining to foraging. It was like, oh, go out and observe them and maybe eat this, maybe eat that. It was great. But there's so much that you can get with foraging. Right now you can literally walk out in the woods and find morels, dryad saddles, which are pheasant backs. Those are best when they're smaller. You can find those in different types of oysters, like golden oysters are one of my favorites, and those are growing like crazy right now. So you can walk out in the woods, you can find a ton of stuff. But if you go to like the Mississippi River or the Wisconsin River right now, and you go paddle around in a kayak or a small boat, you can literally fish and find anything and everything that you want to throw with it. As far as foraging goes, you can find the asparagus on the banks of the rivers. You can find the golden oysters and the regular oysters and morels and dryad saddles and all that stuff. You can find all that.
And ramps.
Yes, and ramps too, which oh, it's horrible. I had a huge field of ramps at one of my morel spots, and it's completely devastated. There's absolutely nothing left. And I was very particular, just taking very small, ramps are one of those things that it takes about 5 to 7 years for a patch to be established. And my patch was probably like a quarter acre, if not a little bit bigger, and they're completely gone. And I would only go take a bundle of them, and that's all I needed. But now they're all gone.
Yeah, so that one thing that I find particularly interesting about the ramp harvesting is that a lot of people don't know you don't need to dig up the actual bulb. And
No.
so it shoots up 2 leaves, and one will actually be hot a little bit higher than the next one. And so like I've been harvesting for a couple of years, and now we're fortunate enough to have some in our yard.
Oh, that's awesome.
So so if you are going out and harvesting ramps, especially if you're doing it they freeze well, especially if you vacuum seal them, and if you're dehydrating them for powder, just take 1 leaf off of each plant. You can fill up garbage bags, and then you'll never deplete any of that plant, especially this time of year, because between mid-May and mid-June, depending on how warm it gets, they start to yellow because it's a colder season plant. They're one of the first things that come up in the spring. So, if you can wait till the end of the season when they're going to start senescing, that's what that yellowing is called. So if you wait till that, just before that point, when you see some of them start to yellow, just go clip off a leaf off of each plant. You can fill up garbage bags, and it tastes exactly the same.
Yep.
And then you leave the bulb. You have your whole patch is intact, and you have a lot of delicious stuff. So, and
you can do anything with ramps
about it, huh?
And you can do anything with ramps. I mean, they're amazing. You get that garlic and that onion flavor, and they're incredible.
Yeah,
it's a perfect plant to put in really any dish.
Mm-hmm.
Or salad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't know. That's what I do. Because, secretly, we have like a huge amount of ramps outside of our house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
I won't tell them where you live.
Yeah. Well, and so like I have heard Josh talk about this a long time because, where he works and all that, he finds them there all the time. But at our old house, we were in a city and I had never experienced it. And now we came here. And so I just loved it so much. Like every single meal I cooked with it, and I, put it in fresh things. Like you can put it on a sandwich. Like it doesn't matter. They are good.
Yep. They are amazing.
Oh my gosh. So I was reading a whole bunch of these comments and then I got distracted. Oh yeah. One of the things that Corey was saying, established patches are a thing of the past. And I laughed because I was thinking of my own house, but unless you're on private property, public places, things get stepped on, especially a ramp. Like it's not a flower. People just think it's like a leaf or a dead thing and they don't even care.
They traipse right through it.
Yeah. But I just think, not to say something silly, but like the fish and the morels and the ramps, or I guess all of these natural things when you're foraging like that, it is what you make of it. And so like what Josh was saying, like if you're out there and you're harvesting every dang fish during spawn, or you're harvesting every single ramp that grows out of the ground, obviously they're not going to be there in the future. So,
yep. Don't deplete your resources, just enjoy what you have.
Yeah.
Well, and the fun thing where all this kind of culminates here for being a fishing show, is that you can definitely use, especially these spring plants that we're foraging and spring mushrooms and stuff. You can use that to time out a lot of your fish.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the plants rely on hours of daylight and temperature. So if you can correlate your good days of fishing and your good days of foraging and what the good days of foraging are, then you can start to develop like, oh, hey, I'm catching a bunch of bluegills. I should go look for ramps,
Yep.
Or it's just stuff like that or vice versa. So that's kind of a cool thing how that's, you can connect the two and then have a delicious meal all from the outside.
And the other thing that we're missing too is fiddleheads. You guys ever cook up fiddleheads?
No.
We were just talking about that, and there's a few that is quickly, those ferns popped up, and then they unrolled
bloom
pretty quick.
Fern.
Yeah, you got to find them right away. But that's one of the best things with like the trout season, at least down here in the southern part of the state, is as soon as trout season opens up, you're looking for morels, you're looking for asparagus, you're looking for fiddleheads because they're just popping up. You're looking for your ramps. You literally can go in and you take a backpack and, all right, well, I want a little bit of this, I want a little bit of that, and then I'm going to catch some dinner too, and we're going to throw it all together and make an awesome meal. So you definitely talk about like, correlating all the different seasons together. It's exactly how it works. Works out good.
That is interesting. And I'm reading in the comments, Corey saying every fisherman needs a flowering crab. What does that correlate with? Because I imagine like something in the spring, right? I mean, we have a crab tree outside of our house, right? It's flowering now. What's happening? A lot of things.
Yeah, I guess I've never heard that one specifically, but you hear a lot with fishing and lilacs. Especially down in the Winnebago system. That's the time to go start looking for white bass. In some areas that's where crappies are starting, So yeah, just kind of keep your eye open for stuff. If you're unsure what there's a term for this, and it's called phenology. And it's a study of when things happen. And it's a really cool thing. I do a lot of that for my work just because I am in natural resources. So we have to kind of keep track of that kind of stuff. Beekeeping is another one that goes along with the seasons, and keeping track of that. But yeah, if you're interested in like correlating times of year with when things are going, look up phenology, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff you can learn about correlation in nature. Well,
everything kind of works cohesive together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I can't see all the comments. What's up, Mark? I saw BAC jump on there before. What's up, Brian? My brother from another mother.
Oh, I was going to just, Adam, I was just going to tell you, but if you're on your phone, it might not work. So, but it's okay because you can always come back later, and we'll put I was going to say all the good stuff up, but there's a lot of good comments tonight, so there's no way to get them all up. So we appreciate everybody at home because we love you guys. But it does sound like everyone is doing really crazy stuff tonight, working and a controlled burn at their house and all kinds of crazy stuff. And like we're talking about, spring is really when things are happening. So I mean, I guess when you first hit open water after spring, what fish do you have in mind? Are you thinking panfish? Are you walleye? Or what does that look like for you?
For me, I'm down on the Rock River, so I can literally fish walleye year round. Now, whether or not you're going to find them, because obviously during the winter they move out and whatnot. But as soon as ice is gone or it's starting to break up, I'm down there fishing for walleye. Casting from shore, even if you can't get a boat in, still casting from shore because there's plenty of spots that you can fish from. But I got to be honest, I haven't been out fishing much other than walleye. I literally have not been out fishing much. So hopefully that's all going to change this weekend. So I plan on getting the boat out tomorrow finally and get that all ready to go. But I kind of got to switch gears from going from walleye over to bluegill and, crappie and whatnot and really hit my panfish game. It's been a while.
So are you going from shore? You got your kayak or?
Well, I've got the kayaks out, but I've got to get my boat out of storage. So I've been slacking big time. You're caught up with everything with all the trips that we've done, but we're definitely getting into that time of year. I ended up buying a boat last year. My kids, we did 13 trips last year. So I'll kind of go back to the beginning. Last year, we did 13 trips during the summer, as far as camping trips and outdoors trips and all that stuff. We did do quite a few private campgrounds, and so that gets really pricey. I mean, it got ridiculously pricey. And then my neighbors said, hey, you want to borrow our boat? We're going to go island camping. You guys can load everything up in this boat. Well, I think it was secretly he was just trying to sell me the boat, which worked because the kids said, hey, let's buy the boat and not go to any private campgrounds anymore. And let's just go, camp on the river and whatnot. So now they're addicted to island camping and whatnot. And so that's kind of where we're at. So now I'm finally going to get the boat out, and then we're going to start all our trips, and it'll be great times.
That's awesome. Island camping on the river is a super fun time.
Oh, it's incredible. Other than when the big storms roll in, down on the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Like last year in July, our tent basically pretty much almost got leveled. The kids had a blast, but they were fine. It was amazing watching the tent just like pulsing in and out. And then we woke up in the morning and one of the boats of the group had completely sunk. And so we had to bail that out and get that up on the beach and tow it back and all that. And a couple other tents got leveled, and it was absolutely crazy. But it's tons of fun. I mean, that's absolutely something that everybody should kind of do, or at least try to do. You don't have to have expensive gear. You don't have to have a super nice boat. There is islands that you can camp on, and you can get to it really easily. You can get to it in a kayak, which is one of the big things that I've done with my group of friends is it's gone and done kayak trips down the river, and we'll spend 3 days and cover, I think we covered 18 or 20 miles last year, but stayed on the different islands, and it's incredible. It's an awesome experience.
So the only time I have ever, I guess, camped and canoed and all that at the same time as Boundary Waters, and I imagine that you're describing something a little bit different. So for people who've never done this island camping, is this something that you need to reserve? Can you show up? Is it a campsite? Tell us more about that.
So as far as the Mississippi River goes, and I love that you brought up the BWCA because I go there often, or not often enough, but often. And I went last year. We're going again this year. We've got that trip all in the books and ready to go. But as far as the islands down here, so like the Wisconsin River, you can camp on any publicly owned, like the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM land or DNR land, anything that's actually like state owned or public owned or federally owned, you can camp on that stuff. Now there is certain restrictions to it, so just make sure you look that up. But I believe like BLM, excuse me, and then the DNR land, there's pretty much no restrictions as far as camping or campfires on them. And those ones are super easy. But I definitely recommend like Onyx, the app Onyx, so that you can really tell whose land is what. Because we have come across a couple islands that are completely split as to where the landowner owns one side of it, but it's DNR or whatever government entity that owns the other side. Mm-hmm. Now there is an exception to that. If you're paddling down or you're going down in a boat, there is the exception. If a big storm rolls in and you need to seek shelter, you are legally allowed to stay on somebody's land. But you have to be able to prove that there's a life or death kind of situation. We need to be on your land type of thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not worth it being on somebody else's land. But then as far as like the Mississippi River, you have to be on the main river channel. And there is islands that are set up with a fire ring, and they're all kind of cleared out. And those things are absolutely gorgeous. But you do have to be on the main river channel, and you have to be able to be seen by the barges, apparently. So that's as far as I know.
Sure. And then like, I imagine that's really popular in summer. So if you're doing this, you got to kind of like get at it.
Yes. Well, you know what? You don't have to have the most expensive equipment. You can go out whenever you want. There's always an open area, but you might end up sharing an island with somebody somewhere. But no, just get out and do it. I mean, you literally can take the cheapest tent you can find and or a hammock. There's incredible islands to sleep in a hammock out there. And I've seen people do it, and I've seen people weather out some pretty amazing storms in a hammock and a tarp over top of them. And you don't have to have a ton of gear. You don't have to go absolutely nuts to do it. Just get out and go.
That's crazy.
Well, and I know a lot of people do have hub shacks. So if you have an actual boat,
Yeah.
it probably isn't the best idea to put on a kayak, since that's another person.
No.
But if you have an actual boat and you're island hopping like that, don't forget, like, your hub is a perfectly decent tent for the summertime. It has stake down points. It has all of your tie downs for just like a regular tent.
Yep.
It could get a little bit warm in the summertime, but other than that, like, we've camped in our hubs before, once or twice, so they work just fine.
I've done it as well. My big double hub, my thermal hub, I've used that in the fall or early spring, and set that sucker up, and you can crack open the windows just for a little ventilation, but it keeps you nice and warm and toasty in there, plenty of room. It definitely works.
Yeah.
You really don't need to. I mean, there's so much gear that's interchangeable between fishing and camping and whatnot, and all the different outdoor activities, and people don't realize it. It's like, you just have to utilize it. I don't know how else to put it.
So when you mentioned that you have a Boundary Waters trip coming up, I mean, I guess that is the other question that I have is, I understand when you have a boat and you can load things on and take your whole hub and all of your things, and that's great. But when you're going on a trip to Boundary Waters, first of all, everything that you bring in, you carry around and carry out. You don't get there and there's a car waiting for you or anything crazy. And so, I mean, I guess when it comes to graphs or fishing gear or tackle, like, how do you decide and narrow it down and figure out what to bring?
It's definitely a tough decision as far as narrowing down everything. It comes down to experience, talking to people, doing research. I've been going for 5-6 years now. My brother's been going for like 12, I think, something like that. So, we've upgraded the gear as we go, and you want to pack as light as you can. It is LNT up there. So leave no trace is the motto, which basically should be your motto anywhere, is leave no trace. But up in the Boundary Waters, it's definitely held to a higher standard. So yes, you whatever you carry in, you carry out. So when it comes down to like gear itself, as far as tackle goes, that one's the hardest thing for me to really figure out what I want. I do a lot of research on the maps. I talk with my brother and talk with everybody else within our group. We look at the sonar maps and whatnot, the best that we can, I should say. My buddy Conrad, he just typed in right there, less is more. Conrad just got to go with us last year. And I'll tell you what, we hammered the walleye nonstop, and it was absolutely incredible. But yes, you definitely want to take less, and it works out perfect. So something like the Boundary Waters, where you have that dark stained water up there from all the iron ore, very simple tackle, like up to a half ounce white jig and a white twister tail. It works perfect. You take a bunch of those and you can catch fish all week. You can cast them for bass, you can cast them for walleye, you can jig for walleye, you can catch giant northern on them. It doesn't matter. So you can literally take one small tray of tackle and cut down on your weight, or you can take a whole big bag and then you're just totally going to regret it.
Yeah.
And then cheap rods up there, I definitely don't recommend taking a custom rod, because one of them is always bound to get broken. That's just how it goes. So inexpensive rods that are decent, and equip them with, I love using braided line up there, and then just having an extra spool of mono to run for leader line. And it works absolutely perfect. But yeah, as we go throughout the years, it's like definitely just downsize the gear that we have, and less is more. It's really the best way to put it.
And then how about traveling with electronics, or do you not bring a graph?
We do. We just started a couple years ago. I bought a Humminbird Fishing Buddy Max down imaging. So it's a self-contained unit that runs off of 8. I put lithium batteries in there, lithium AA's. So it runs off of 8 lithium batteries. And if you get rid of the mount itself that is provided, that shaves off 5.6 pounds off of the whole unit. So once you break it down, or once you get rid of that mount, what I use sticks, paracord, and then these like rubber band gear tie things, or like rubber coated wire. And I can make my own mount out of that. Now, it's not as stable, but if you put the right amount of sticks on it to stabilize it, you can utilize that. And let me tell you, that is a whole different game changer. And it's incredible to be able to find the fish. I mean, you're paddling over top of, some lakes are 120 feet deep. Some lakes are 60 feet deep, for a quarter mile. It's just amazing to be able to find the different rocks and the different structure, and be able to find the walleyes hanging out just underneath this boulder that's the size of a Volkswagen, or, so it definitely helps. And we've since upgraded. Like my brother started taking a Garmin Striker 4, I believe it is. And then he has a Dakota Lithium, hold on. What's Conrad say? Drift sock. Yes. Conrad's chiming in like crazy now. I mean, he got to experience the Boundary Waters with us. The dude literally, he had 2 hours to prepare, and he ran home. He was at work, ran home, packed all his stuff, grabbed all his fishing gear. We said, nope, you're not taking this. Nope, you're not taking this. And he was on a trip for a week, But yes, definitely a drift sock. The drift sock definitely helps out, like big time up there, because the lakes are they're so big and they're so expansive, and there's nothing around them, especially if you're down in a burn area where there's all the trees. The majority of the trees are all dead, so you get a ton of breeze blowing through there. But if you have a couple different canoes, like I was saying, my brother got the Garmin Striker 4, just because it's a small, perfect size unit that you can put inside a tackle bag, and then run it with like a Dakota Lithium or any type of lithium 6.5 amp hour battery. And that battery is going to literally last you a week. If you keep your screen brightness down and whatnot, and it'll last a week. You find the fish, you turn it off, and just keep hammering them.
Oh man, I guess I'm like inspired to take a trip like that, because I have been to the Boundary Waters a few times, but honestly, I've never been able to like fish it. And I just know that there are so many fabulous opportunities for fishing up there. So it just makes me really want to go.
It's absolutely incredible. And there's a lot of people that'll stay, like the easy areas, like the numbered lakes. There's a lot of people that don't like to paddle out too far. So there's literally a lake 1, a lake 2, a lake 3, and a lake 4 up there. And a lot of people don't want to paddle past that. But if you're willing to take the bigger portages and put in the effort to get farther out, you can get into some of the most incredible, insane fishing that you'll ever be on. And I'm talking, 22-inch smallmouth, 24-inch smallmouth. Well, I don't know if they were 24. Most of the time, you don't even measure them. But these things will drag you around, drag the canoe around everywhere. And it's like every cast, you got a smallmouth. Every cast, you got a walleye. It's nonstop. So if you really put in the work and put in the effort to get out farther, it's amazing how the fishing goes. So definitely do it.
Yeah. Oh, just fit it into my schedule. Super easy.
Yeah, right. But you know what? It's literally, we put it, I don't think our planning ever stops.
Yeah.
For the boundary waters. It's like constantly doing our lists. You have to get on at a certain time in April or whatever to get the best permits, your best entry dates and whatnot. Literally the planning never ends. It's not something that you can just say like, oh, next week I got plenty of time to go drive up there. You can't get in because they only have a certain amount of entry point permits in order to get in, and that's per day. So like they'll only allow 10 groups in one day from certain entry points. And then there's very limited access ones to where there's only like 1 or 2 per day. So it's pretty incredible what you have to do in order to plan one of those trips out.
That's your forte.
Planning, yeah. Here we go.
Start planning for next year.
I'm going to find the lake that has the biggest bluegill in it. Oh my goodness. Corey's talking about backwaters are legit. I think that's in response to Ray saying that he's going to Mississippi in June. So Ray may have joined us and back in the conversation talking about ramps and all of that good stuff along the rivers. And, there's a lot of that we don't find as much in the boundary waters because, to be honest, that's not backwaters. Those are all lakes. And
Yep.
we talk about it. It's a system that you can move through. So a lot of times portaging and all that, once in a while you get lucky and the lakes get pretty close to touching, but a lot of times it involves getting out and dragging your crap across. But, when we are talking about even more local waters, and you do have your boat and you do have all of your gear, do you think that makes all the difference? Or, not even really?
You mean as far as fishing goes, or?
Yeah, just having like all of your stuff with you. You can pack your boat with every bit of gear versus just narrowing it down.
No, probably not, because I typically stick to the 1 or 2 lures. I might run through a bunch of it, but if you can't make something work, then you shouldn't be out there. And we all have those days. It's not saying anybody's a horrible fisherman. You just shouldn't be out there because all you're doing is wasting your time. We all have those go-to lures. We all have, whether they're jerk baits, jigs, whatever, plastics, live bait. We all have that. And if you can't make that work, it's probably not a good day to be out fishing. It's still a good day, but you're not out there to catch dinner.
So what I heard is that you could narrow it down to 3 baits per day. I could not.
I could. It depends. Honestly, my boundary waters pack is like a kid's tackle box. My buddy Conrad right there, he chimed in, inline spinner. I swear to God, you can send that guy out with 2 inline spinners and he's going to fill a canoe full of fish any day of the week. It's like, it's nonstop. He is one of those guys that does that. I can't do it, but I can pick 2 or 3 baits and go out there and I'm probably going to land a fish, if I have mobility. I'm not saying from shore, unless I'm, bluegill or crappie fishing or whatever, I'm going to catch fish,
Well, and there's something to that spinner thing, because what are those little spinners that I like and they have the propellers on them?
I don't know what
But everyone uses them for trout. Yeah, what are those?
Oh, Panther Martins?
Is that what it is? I feel like you must be right, because that's what I was going to say, but I question myself. And because you can find them everywhere with like the blades on them and the colors are all the same all the place. But, sometimes you find them in the front. Instead of a blade, it's a propeller. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. What about this? Like, it like caught me. And so every time I see them, I buy them. But to be honest, they work. And it's funny because there's days where I go out and it's always a multi-species day when I use that. Like crappies like them, bluegills like them, perch like them. It's a rooster tail. Thank you, Conrad. That's what I was looking for. That's what it is. But those with the propeller on top, you can catch big pike on them. That's the thing. Yep. And so I know what you mean when you say that your tackle box looks like a little kid's, but sometimes you have to have that flashy, crazy stuff because it works.
Yep. I'm not denying it whatsoever, but I mean, it's, I choose like on certain trips or whatnot, I choose to take very minimal stuff. I think I like that challenge of, I want to try with this. I need to try a different cadence. I need to try a different technique. I need to, you know, even taking a jig that you should be jigging the bottom of the river with, taking that and floating it out and just trying to, dance it across. I mean, literally there's so many different ways to run all these different lures. And it's like sometimes the best challenge is just narrowing down your tackle and not taking out much. I mean, I have plenty of days that I've gone out in the boat and just taken one tray, and it's like, well, I'm going to go catch this, so.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a big proponent. Like, people ask me, like, what's the best bait to catch the most fish on? And by far and out, it's a hook and a worm. That has caught more fish in people's lifetimes than any other bait in their tackle box. And
Right.
That's just because that's the most natural, unassuming presentation. It's not super fun to fish a lot of times. Nope. unless you're a kid and you're new and you don't know about all the cool stuff. But that, so like you said, like simple can be good.
I'll tell you my absolute favorite, and it's the smallest, like a 5 millimeter, like a cannonball. Widowmaker lures, they're cannonball jigs with a little bit longer shank, but like a 5 millimeter cannonball. And I use a twister tail. I love the IJO, little twister tails with, you get like a white body and different colored tail, white and red behind a 5 millimeter cannonball. And you literally can you can throw it, retrieve it instantly. You can just sit there and just real slow dance it back. You pretty much do anything with it. And I'll tell you what, anything and everything bites those. Literally anything. The tiniest little jig and you catching big northern, or you're catching bass, or you're praying that your line's not going to break. That is my favorite presentation, hands down, no matter what. Like, I always have to have that with me.
Why are you laughing at me?
She just wants to go fishing.
I just want to go fishing now.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. One more day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But the problem is today felt like Friday all day at work. So tomorrow it's like Friday number 2. And then Saturday will come along and I'll be like, this isn't real. It should be Friday number 3.
Yeah. Oh. I can't wait to get out fishing. Like, I'm itching. I think my girlfriend and I, we're going to get out fishing this weekend, or at least that's what we're trying to. Luckily, I found somebody that absolutely amazing and loves to fish too, and she's always begging me to go fishing. So it works out great.
That's awesome.
I want to go.
I'll put you on the water more often.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I guess, you were talking about adventures up north, and certainly adventures around your house. Do you have other crazy adventures coming up this summer?
You got the Boundary Waters. We got river trips. No, I mean, it kind of goes week by week. I think I only have 3 or 4 actual trips planned. And one of them is private campground, which going to do a concert thing, but there's fishing there and whatnot too. So we've got that. But then after that, it's going to be pretty much just river adventures. The kids want to camp on the river so bad. That's what they want to do. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I feel like I have like a million more questions for you, but we usually talk for around an hour and we are coming close to that time. And so I guess I'm really excited to see all of your river adventures, and hopefully one of these days I run into you on one of these adventures. Because I hope to
Right?
find myself on an island one of these days this summer.
Yeah.
We'll see what that looks like. But for people who want to follow along and maybe don't do that yet, how do they follow along with you in your adventures?
I mean, you just look up my name. I don't have any special page or anything like that. I post my adventures on Ice Junkies Outdoors sometimes. I mean, if it's involving fishing and whatnot, but otherwise, I mean, if they click on my name, Adam Kittleson, you click on that. I mean, you kind of see my name a little bit everywhere. I do try to post it to other people's pages and whatnot. I just can't keep up with all that. Having a job and having 3 kids, and it's just nonstop chaos.
How can you go
But-
on so many adventures if you're spending so much time posting about them?
Right, exactly. It's like now I'm starting to realize more that I need to just soak it in, and just enjoy that time with my kids, and sure, take some pictures, but I've been slacking so bad, with taking pictures, because it's just so much fun just to be in the moment instead of taking the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to get better at just kind of managing my time and taking the pictures when we're out doing something, but just putting the phone down as well.
Yeah.
Adam, don't ever feel bad about living your life. That's
Right.
always. Also, good news. It looks like you have one more trip being added to your list. BAC says you're coming by him this summer. So, not sure if that's
Definitely.
a perch fishing trip or how walleyes are going. But I bet that's something that BAC can answer for you. So,
Brian will always be on fish.
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. So if anybody at home is looking to be on fish, definitely give BAC a call because he always knows what's biting and where. And Conrad says that he's taking his friends with fishing, so I'm hoping to be his friend soon too. Because let's all go to the boundary waters.
Conrad's one of those guys that I'll tell you what, man, that guy outfishes me every time. Like
He's not coming.
Literally nonstop, hands down, all the time. Yeah, Emily, that's you.
It just sometimes it's luck. Oh my goodness. Well, Adam, thanks so much for being here. We always have
Thank
so
you,
much
guys.
fun talking with you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. It's fun talking with you guys. Miss you guys. I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah.
So it's been since the IJO meet and greet. It's been a long time.
Yeah, there was still snow on the ground, and there definitely isn't. There's a window that way. That's where I'm looking for the people at home. You can't see that. Oh my goodness. But hopefully we will get to see you soon, because that would be super fun, and maybe even fish with you sometime. So I would love that.
That would be awesome. Let's all get up to BAC and go hang out.
Perfect.
Yep. Let us know.
And to the people at home, I guess, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is always half the fun. And looking forward to seeing you on next week's edition of the Night Bite.